Hello. Whoa. It's like the sun just started beating in here. Hold on, I gotta lower this. And there we go. Hello, my name is Keith. I am your meditation teacher here on this channel, Meditation Breaks. If you are new, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. This channel is all about learning meditation, and it's focused on learning meditation in a way that's practical for our kind of modern life. And I think a lot of times when we first hear about meditation, we think it might only be for relaxing, but the kind of breadth of what meditation can do is is pretty wide, about as wide as you can imagine. And so on this channel, we embrace that width uh, by focusing on different topics that have to do with meditation, and look how meditation impacts certain things in our life. Um, that being said, if you are brand new and you're like, cool, but I don't know anything about meditation, Keith, uh, don't worry. I always start each um, live stream with a introduction to meditation 101, I guess, or something like that, if you want to call it. So last thing I'll say before we get going is if you do have any questions, you can feel free to ask me at any time. You do not need to wait for me to be like, does anyone have any questions on that? You can just use the chat feature here, and as soon as I see it, I will do my best to answer it. If you don't want to use the chat feature, or you think of something later on, totally fine. I'm going to give everyone my email. You can always email me anything as you're meditating on your own or something comes up. Cool. Okay. So uh, just like every week, we start by asking this question: what is meditation? And for those of you that are here every week, it's probably pretty redundant at this point, but this is, I think, one of the most important things to start to normalize about the way you view meditation. And that is that meditation is not just sitting on the floor, cross legged like this, with your eyes closed. That's a seating position. That is a formal kind of seating position for meditation in a lot of practices. But meditation itself is not, at least in my opinion, a seating position. It doesn't require anything in order to. It doesn't require any like body orientation in order to do it. And so a lot of times when we think about meditation, the first thing that pops up in our mind is that image, somebody sitting cross-legged with arms like this or whatever. It's an emoji, so clearly that's a pretty common way to imagine meditation. Now, if meditation is not that, then what is it? And so here on this channel, I like to put forth the definition of thinking of meditation as a technique that you can use to familiarize yourself with something deeply, right? To become really familiar with something, which I know is kind of vague, but we'll get into like what I mean by that. Hey, so why do you think the concept is reflected on this way? Yeah, I don't. I think that kind of. I think that it just is imagery is really powerful for us, and it's how we start to become familiar with things through imagery is a big part of that, and that is a very formal way of meditating, and it's a great way. You kind of it's still a really powerful way to meditate, but it's just I think become normalized as this is how I sit when I meditate. But really, meditation can be anything. because it's purely in your mind, not body. Um, which is kind of an interesting thing that we don't normally think about mind in the same way we do as body. Right? We're very familiar with our body. We're in our body, but in our mind is a little more esoteric. So I think that is probably contributing to it. Good question. So most people get into meditation to relax, which is great because meditation is quite good for it. And we can think that meditation equals relaxation, right? So, like, if I meditate, I'm relaxed. Meditation is causing relaxation. Really, meditation does not create relaxation. What's happening is that meditation is teaching you to become very familiar with your relaxed self. That version of you that is calm, cool, collected, relaxed. It's in there. You know it's in there. I know it's in there. We want it to show up more often, of course, but the key component here is we have it, right? Meditation isn't creating it. It's just making it so we're so familiar with relaxed us that what happens? Relaxed us starts to show up more often. We don't have to try as hard, right? And this relationship of being really familiar with something, the more familiar you are with something, the more readily it kind of shows up in your life without as much effort or concentration or whatnot, is everything, right? That is the key to understanding what meditation can do for you, right? Because this relationship, the more familiar you are with something, the more kind of easily it shows up or whatnot, is true for all things that you encounter in your life. Right? Familiarity is one of the key lead actors and actresses in the movie of your life. You were born not knowing, you were born not familiar with anything, really. In the context of the world we live in, you didn't know how to walk. You didn't know how to tie your shoe. You didn't know how to jump up and down. All these things you did not know, and as a result, when the first time you tried to do them, it didn't always go so well, right? Not because you're not good at it. It's just you're not familiar with it. It's not that you can't. It's just that you haven't had the opportunity to familiarize your mind with that stuff. So something like tying your shoe is kind of like interesting to think about because each one of us is really good at tying our shoe right now. Like really good. We can do it without even looking or thinking about it. But there was a time in our life where that wasn't the case. And the only difference between not like tying your shoe being the hardest thing ever, which it was at one point, and now where it's effortless to some degree, is just practice, familiarity, right? Learning a new language, it's the same thing. And so meditation is a great way to practice choosing what you want to be familiar with, to start to train your mind to be familiar with the things that you want to be familiar with, right? It's about choice, right? So getting back to relaxation, if you want to be more relaxed, right? Meditation is a great way to teach you how to connect with your relaxed self. That way it shows up more regularly, right? Now, this is our human superpower, in my opinion, right? The ability to become so familiar with something that it doesn't require the energy or effort that it once did. But this also, can work in not positive ways, right? You think about anger, anxiety, these are all things that start as very small, like a very small flame, right? And then the more we practice those things, the more familiar we get with that, right? Nobody's ever had to stop and be like, oh, hold on, I got to stop and get angry, right? It just kind of happens because we've had a lot of practice getting annoyed. Probably more practice getting annoyed than being really patient, which is kind of the opposite of anger. So this concept is really important for our life, right? Regardless of meditation or not. Why are anger and anxiety defaults? So they are defaults because they're defaults just based on familiarity. And like, I think that there's a lot of reasons why globally, right? These are two mindsets that seem to kind of come up a lot. This is a whole nother class. But the reason why we seem to default to them is because we have practiced them a lot in our life, not like, well, I'm going to practice being angry, but like, things happen and then we get frustrated, right? Or, we worry about something, start to get anxious. Like these are things that we have done many times. And so it is normalized for us. Now, being incredibly patient is also something that we have all done many times. But probably not as much as like, I wish that was different, or, like getting frustrated or whatnot. It's purely familiarity, which is kind of an amazing realization because all these things are learned. And so we can start to dictate what our default is, right? Maybe, we're whatever age we are, we spent X number of years where our default is kind of to get worried about things. We can change that, right? We learned how to do that and we can learn something else. Cool. So, this is all well and good, but how do we do this meditation thing, right? How do we actually practice this art of familiarity? So when you are first introduced to meditation, almost always it's breathing meditation. Breathing meditation is simply a meditation where the focal point is your breath. Now, the focal point of a meditation can be anything, and our topic for today, we're going to do our focal point is going to be something else. But for now, we're going to start with doing breathing meditation. And the reason is that your breath's really accessible, right? You always have it, which is an important concept in meditation. We don't need to go to a mountaintop. We don't need to leave our friends behind. We don't need to, be rid of all material possessions. All we need is just us, what we have, right? Kate, yeah, kind of like the survivalist instinct is a big part of it, right? And like, back in not today, that was really important, and today maybe less so. And so our mind has kind of like become really familiar with this style of thinking, of this like way of interpreting the world, right? Fear first kind of a thing. Sarah, what's the difference between breathing meditation and breath kink? Until you're listening, I don't know what that is. Both in listening to breathing according to someone else's. I don't know what that is. Breath is used for meditation simply because of its accessibility. That's it, right? Like literally, you can meditate on anything. It's the same. The steps that we're going to go through to do breathing meditation are the exact same steps you would go through to meditate on anything. And when someone else controls your breathing. Well, interestingly enough, I'm not controlling your breathing at all, right? So like in meditation, I may be guiding you, but you're the one dictating your breath, right? Meditation is it's a very personal experience. Even though we do it in a group and there's a lot of benefit to doing it in a group, it can be it's really a very unique personal experience for everyone. And so I will not be dictating how you breathe, because that's up to you. Whatever is normal for you. Cool. So we're going to do some breathing meditation now, and it consists of 3 steps. Step 1 is we choose to do this, right? So choice is already here, right? It's already at the forefront. We are setting an intention, and all I mean by that is we're going to kind of place this idea in our mind. For the next couple of minutes, I'm going to focus on my breath, and that's it. That's my only task right now. The reason we do this is so we have a kind of little compass. We get off track, we get distracted. We have an intention that we have set. We know where we want to get back to. In this case, our breath. So that's step 1. Step 2 is we're going to actually do that. And whenever you notice that you are thinking about something other than your breath, and that can be anything, like you could have gone down a rabbit hole and you're planning your next vacation, or you're just like, oh, what was that noise? Like anything, on either side of that and in between. When that happens, we're just going to say not right now to those thoughts. That's our kind of little saying here, not right now. We're not saying those thoughts are bad. We're not saying those thoughts are unwanted or intrusive. They're just thoughts, just not now, right? That's kind of like our attitude for it. And then step 3 is we're going to bring our attention back to our breath. Choose to focus single pointedly on your breath. Notice when you are no longer doing so, bringing your attention back. That's it. It's a pretty simple instructional process, but we don't do this a lot. It's focusing on one thing. We're all expert multitaskers, right? And life has kind of encouraged us to do that. And so something that seems instructionally simple isn't always, right? But the cool thing here is that these 3 steps are the basis of all meditation, right? And so when we talk about kind of our topic for today and our other meditation, it's the same as what we're about to do with breathing. Okay, cool. So you'll notice I'm not on the floor. I'm not sitting on the floor. I'm in a chair. You can sit in a chair. You can lay down. You had a long day? Go for it. You got a little comfiest couch of all time? Sink back into that thing. Pick a spot that is comfortable for you. Does not matter. You can go ahead and close your eyes, and that will help with some of the visual, tendency for being distracted visually. And I'm going to guide us through about a 5-minute breathing meditation. Okay. Whenever we start a meditation, first things first, take a moment, check in with yourself. Ask, how am I feeling right now in this exact moment? Maybe you're tired. You've had a long day. Maybe you're energetic or excited about something. Maybe you're feeling happy or perhaps a little melancholy. Whatever it is perfect. We're not trying to change anything here. Just notice. Practice being an observer of your own mind. This is a technique often referred to as mindfulness. Mindfulness is an active awareness of your own thoughts moment to moment for the very specific purpose of being able to respond skillfully to those thoughts. Take a moment and check in. Having done that, we can now set an intention. We can make a promise to ourselves and let that promise sit in our mind. And for right now, that promise is to focus single-pointedly, exclusively on our own breath to the best of our ability for the next couple of minutes. That is your only task right now. All other things can wait. Just you and your breath for a few minutes. Let that promise sit in your mind. Become familiar with it. And then with that intention set, we can act on it. Turn your full attention to your own breathing, in and out, gently, naturally. There's no need to change anything about how you breathe here. Whatever comes naturally to you is perfect. Just in and out, gently, naturally. Allow yourself to settle into your seat. At some point, sometimes rather quickly, you may catch your mind drifting a bit, starting to split time, no longer exclusively focused on your breath. Maybe you're thinking about something you have to do later after this class ends. Or maybe you're thinking about something that happened earlier in the day. Whenever you notice that your mind is drifted in this way, we can just say not right now to those thoughts. We'll get to them later. Actually imagine yourself picking up those thoughts, placing them beside you. And with those thoughts waiting patiently, you can turn your full, undivided attention back to your own breath. Breathing in and breathing out gently, naturally. Single-pointedly focused on each moment of each breath. What's it like to follow your own breath on a moment-to-moment basis? Each day we breathe countless times. And for all those countless times, for the most part, we're not really paying attention to breathing. What if we do? What does breathing feel like? When you breathe in, can you feel your shoulders rise? And when you breathe out, can you feel your shoulders fall? When you breathe in, can you sense the temperature of the air? It feels cool on the tip of your nostril each time you breathe in. How interesting. And yet when you breathe out, that air feels warm, doesn't it? Interesting. We normally think of our breath as exclusive to specific organs, but our entire body is a participant in each breath. In and out, gently, naturally. And keep bringing your attention back to your own breath as many times as you need to. There's no barometer of success here. You are meditating right now. You are training your mind to tap into your natural, peaceful, relaxed state. And most importantly, you are training your mind to focus on what you want to focus on. And right now, the only thing you want to focus on is breathing in and out gently, naturally. For the last few moments here, just enjoy sitting with your breath, breathing. No need to think about too much at all. Just take a little time for you. Okay, and when you are ready, you can open your eyes. Hello, welcome back. That's breathing meditation. And while our breath was our focal point here, meditation, the only kind of prerequisites for something to be considered meditation is we choose to focus on it single pointedly. We notice when we are no longer doing so. We bring our attention back. We can meditate on brushing our teeth, right? Brush our teeth twice a day. And normally we think about, I don't know, anything else but brushing our teeth. But if we wanted to, we could turn that kind of mundane activity of brushing our teeth into a meditation simply by making a promise to ourselves. I'm going to focus on how the brush sounds against my teeth or how it feels against my gums or whatnot. And then whenever we catch ourselves not focusing on that, we bring our attention back to it. It's a technique to start to regain ownership of what your mind focuses on. And a huge benefit of that is your mind becomes really familiar with those things. Cool? Cool. So that's breathing meditation. And if you have any other questions on breathing meditation, you feel free to ask at any time. I'm going to move on to our topic for today. And our topic is we're going to kind of look at, through the lens of meditation, we're going to look at the idea of value. Like, if something's valuable, what does that mean, right? And so I kind of alluded to this earlier, that meditation isn't just about, or doesn't have to be just about relaxing. It can be about self-discovery. It's actually a really wonderful tool for self-discovery. And by that, I mean like asking kind of why of all these things that we think, right? What makes me tick, right? If maybe why does this thing make me anxious, right? It's an investigation tool, if we want it to be. This is often called contemplation, but it's the same thing as meditation. It's just, instead of focusing on your breath or kind of like an object or something, you're focusing on an idea or concept or thought. And that's essentially what contemplation is. So we're going to do a little contemplation today. And what we're going to do is think about this word, valuable. And it's an interesting word. It's something I've been thinking about a lot lately. And I think that meditation is a really cool way of starting to dig into what types of things you find value in, which is important for us, right? There's a lot of people telling us, think this way, this is what you should do, this, and that. And it's easy to get caught up in that. And so my hope is that today is a little bit of a you time to figure out what types of things bring value to your life, right? And to do that, let's first think about what the heck this word even means, valuable. Look, I don't like our economic monoculture, but the first thing that comes to mind generally when we think of something as valuable is we associate it with some sort of a kind of monetary thing, right? Like if I were to give you a diamond, this is a big diamond. It's like in my hand. It's like taken in my whole hand, right? You'd be like, oh, that's valuable. But really, what do you mean, right? Like you're like, oh, that actually fetches a coin or something, you know? If we remove kind of that aspect of it, is a diamond valuable in the same way? Right? So this kind of like association with value and like a monetary value is really ingrained in us. And I think that can sometimes, at least for me, lead to thinking that things that don't fall into that category maybe don't have as much value, right? But really, this word, valuable, I think is more geared towards usefulness, right? If something is useful for you, important in your life, and you recognize it, it has value, right? Your best friend is valuable to you, right? If you go back to our little diamond example, right? Right now, we're like, oh, that's valuable. But if I don't know, a lot of people have dogs or whatnot, or cats or pets. If you go up to your pet and you're like, hey, you have a big old diamond. I don't know where you got it, but you have it. And you have that, and that, in this instance, it's a dog. So you have a diamond, and in this hand, you have a bone. But that dog's like, take that diamond out of here. I want that bone, right? And so this idea of value is completely about perspective. It's about the person interpreting the thing. Things in of themselves don't have value. Value is imbued upon them, and they're imbued upon them in a lot of different ways. Your opinion, the opinion of others, what's trendy for the times and whatnot, right? I grew up in the old 90s, and we used to have gigantic pants called Jinkos, and they were very valuable. They were not cheap. They probably pay you to have Jinkos these days, right? So value changes, right? The things that we think, and that comes from a lot of external influence on that. I think most importantly, though, something's value is very situation dependent. And by that, I don't just mean like the environment is in, which is true, but the person involved, right? And meditation is something I think that very much it can feel at first like it's not that valuable, right? Like we just did 5 or so minutes of sitting and breathing, and here we are talking again. And we might not view that as something that's very valuable, right? But over time, meditation can start to illuminate some things for us. And as a result, we start to find its value. And when we find the value in something, what happens? We tend to gravitate towards it. We tend to want it to be a part of our life. Right? Our best friend, right? We find value in them. We want them to be a part of our life. Right? So finding value in meditation is really important for kind of the persistence that it takes to have this as a practice for yourself. Even further is this kind of idea that if value is basically subjective to the person or entity, right, for dog or whatnot, then value is not a thing. Value comes from your mind, right? The mind of the person interacting with this thing, which is like a really interesting concept, right? Because in our society, there are things that seem inherently to be valuable, generally monetarily, right? But that value is coming directly from our mind, right? And so today, to close out our kind of meditation today, I want to do a meditation that we've done a couple times on this channel. I call it the why meditation, and I'll explain what that is. But we're going to do it based on this idea of valuable and trying to find what things personally to you are valuable. And this meditation can be used for a lot of things. It's like one of my favorite ones to do for self-discovery, right? I wonder why, right? And aptly named why meditation. So this is how this meditation will work, right? We'll start the same way, where we kind of set an intention, and this time our intention is to engage in this activity. And then I'm going to ask you to bring to mind something valuable to you, whatever it is. Don't think too hard on it, right? The first thing that comes to your mind is totally fine, right? You don't have to be like, what is the ultimate valuable thing, right? Just bring to mind something that's valuable. You can't think of anything, you use the old diamond example that I was using. And then what we're going to do is ask ourselves why. Why is this valuable? And the first thing we think of, whatever comes into our mind, the answer to that, the answer to why is this valuable, we're going to sit with that for a little bit. Become familiar with it. essentially. And then we're going to ask why again. Why again? So my family, really, really good one. And so what we're getting at is, on the surface, we start with something. This is valuable. And then we're going to drill down to see what are the roots of that tree, right? What are really the things that make that surface valuable, right? So for example, like the diamond, right? Why? So a diamond is valuable. Why? Because it's expensive. Why? Because somebody decided that. Like, this is a really interesting exercise. It does not need to be some monumental, like, powerful, hard thing that you're looking for the value. It can be, but I think even just doing this without that is really illuminating. It's a really cool way of meditating. So hopefully you enjoy it. Okay, so we're going to do that now. Get comfy once again. If you did not like your previous seating arrangement, go ahead and change. All right. Hey, Shelly. I've only been to No, I've been to Vancouver and I've been to Toronto. I think Toronto is the best aquarium I've ever been to in my life. So good. You're like on a conveyor belt, like going through it. It's incredible. Anyway, we're going to do meditation, and get comfy and close your eyes, and I'm going to guide us through this little contemplation on value. Okay. Take a moment and check in with yourself. How are you feeling right now? What's your mind up to? We're not comparing it to before. Before is done. Just now. How do you feel? Taking an interest in your own mind is truly the first and most important step in meditation. If we take an interest in our own mind, we'll investigate and we'll learn about ourselves. Take a moment and check in. Having done that, you can now set an intention, a little promise to yourself. And for this meditation, that promise is to meditate, to contemplate, to think about the concept of value. This is your only task right now. All other things can wait. For the next few minutes, we're just going to think about what it means for something to be valuable. With that intention set, we can act on it. I'd like you to bring to mind something, anything, that is valuable. Whatever pops into your mind first. Doesn't matter what it is. Let that thing of value sit in your mind. Picture it. And with that image firmly in your mind, I'd like you to ask why. Why is this valuable? And whatever your answer is, whatever pops into your mind first, focus on that now. Sit with that now. We're digging deeper down to find the true source of what makes this valuable, of what value means to you. Whatever your answer to what makes this valuable was, whatever is in your mind, I'd like you to once again ask why. We're going to go one level deeper. Whatever answer pops into your mind, just go with that. Sit, focus on it. This is a deeper insight into how you interpret value. And once again, ask yourself why. One level deeper. Sit with your answer. We are now getting close to the source of value. And then one final time, we can ask why. And whatever answer pops into your mind here, really sit with it. No need to analyze. Just sit with that answer. Like two best friends, this is one of the core reasons of why you found the thing you selected to be valuable. We can use this information as a goalpost for our life. To remember this as a guide. A guide for what value means to you. Okay. Whenever you are ready, you can open your eyes. Hello. Cool. So this meditation is a very personal experience. Obviously, like the first thing we did, we're all focusing on our breath. Here, everyone had a different answer. Like maybe some people had the same ones, but for the most part, I think everyone has their own kind of thing that comes to mind. And this technique, this way of meditating, this way of thinking, this meditation is just thinking, is, I think, really important in our modern life where we are hit with so much information, and that information influences us, right? Influences what we think is right, valuable, smart, what it means to be successful, right? Like all this is influenced by things out there, right? And so this meditation is a way of taking kind of our instincts, our instincts of what outside is telling us, and then checking it against how we really feel, right? To find some root reasons why this thing is important, this thing is valuable. Why? And it can illuminate some really cool stuff. So hopefully you enjoyed that meditation. If you did, great. Come on back next week. This was a valuable meditation session. It hit a raw nerve. Yeah, this is a really cool meditation. I find myself using it more and more. It brought 2 people to mind who have been valuable to you. Interesting. It's awesome. Yeah. And like, you just reminded me of something, Rosa. This, I've used this personally for grief, right? Because when we think about people who may not be with us anymore, right? We're very much thinking about the physical them, right? We miss the physical embodiment of this person, right? But if we do this meditation, we can very easily start to see that it's not the body that has left such a lasting impression on us, but that person's mind, who they are, their personality, their consciousness. And so it can help you kind of start to feel reconnected to these people that may no longer be here, a connection that essentially is unchanged, whether or not their body is around. So anyway, that's like you just reminded me of a way that I've used this why meditation. It's very versatile, and it's something that hopefully you put in your little tool belt or whatever. Cool. If you had a good time, come on back next week. We'll do another meditation-y type thing. I don't know what it is yet. Thank you, anyone who subscribed. Oh, Kate, thank you for subscribing during this stream. And a big thank you to everyone who's done so previously and chooses to do so in the future. Very helpful for me, for this channel, to allow people to find it and to learn about meditation and if it's for them and what it can do for them. So thank you. And then finally, if you're like, hey, Keith's cool guy, I'm kind of into meditation, I do private instruction. It's a really great way of honing in on what you want to get out of meditation. We're all here for different reasons. We all have sought out meditation for different reasons, right? Maybe you're like, I don't care about that value stuff. I want to know about anxiety. We can focus on that. So if that's interesting to you, just email me. I'm going to put my email in the chat right now, and we'll find a time. I do all of them virtually. It's pretty laid back. My email is Keith at meditationbreaks.com. I'll say that one more time, not strangely. Keith at meditationbreaks.com. Spelt correctly, hopefully. Yes. Thank you. That's my email. Email me any questions that you have. If you're meditating on your own, just feel free to reach out. And if you do have an interest in some private instruction, just let me know and we'll find a good time. Right. Thank you, everyone, for being here. I love teaching. It is a really valuable part of my life. Like, it brings me a lot of joy, personally. And I couldn't do that without you guys. Taking time out of your incredibly busy day to come spend with this perfect stranger, me, Keith, to learn about meditation. So that's really cool, and I have a lot of gratitude for everyone that comes here and each week and participates. So thank you. Have a wonderful week, and I'll catch you next time.